Hello and welcome to this Jane's Weather Update. It is Friday the 12th of September. We have got the big rain system that crossed New South Wales is now so far off to the east here it is over New Zealand. So everything is calming down from that one. We've got some coastal showers that are off the coast that may move onshore during the afternoon. This little disturbance up through here, which will be affecting mainly northeastern Queensland as we move through the next week. There's just very weak disturbances crossing the southeast, and the next weather system for the southwest is still well offshore. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have got day by day. Here is Friday, so here's the first day. High pressure over Adelaide by the end of the day. So all of the wet weather from there is clearing out. It should be all clear by the game this evening. There's just this little bit of leftover wet weather for the southeast as a front clips Tasmania, and then a tiny bit more tomorrow. Nothing really for the east coast. Most of the falls are offshore, and in the southwest remaining dry right through to the end. That changes tomorrow. By the end of Saturday, the cold front is in through here. The cold air with this one still well offshore. That'll come in on Sunday. High pressure now over northeastern parts of New South Wales. High pressure here means winds travelling in this direction in through here. So we now have moisture that's coming into the east coast. There's also a trough at the surface. So you can see those solid grey lines. That's our surface pressure. So we've got a trough that's running in through there, allowing that wet weather to the east of that. But also, let me direct you to the cold air versus warm air that we've got going on. So it's the coloured lines, these red ones here, and then the dashed greys, and then the cold blues in through here, and then down into purple. When you've got cold coming up and them having a thing that looks like this in through here, that's instability. You can also see over in the east here, it's kind of making that sort of shape in through here. It's not the cold air that we see in the south, but it is still making that particular shape. That helps with the instability and gets this wet weather going on in through here. But in between that, you can see how they're dipping down. So it's more like this shape in through here. That is warm air that is coming out from the interior and making it right down into the east. So that's our warm up as we move across the weekend. That's in the southeast. So high pressure out through here by the end of Sunday. Still got all that onshore flow in through there. Here is the next weather system affecting the southwest and the cold air that comes up in behind that one. So that system is here by the end of Sunday. We've got all of that warm air coming down into the southeast ahead of it. That's Sunday. Let's now have a look at Monday. Yes, it keeps going up through here. That will be each and every day right through the end of next week. So I'll stop focusing on that one. Here is the next weather system coming through by the end of Monday. So 10 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. That cold front is running down in through here. All the wet weather is in behind it, and there's just a tiny little bit of tropical moisture coming in behind that one. There's Monday. Let's now go into Tuesday. So that's moved right across the southeast there. You'll notice that it moves here, it hits the ranges, and then it dries out on the other side. None of the big falls for the southeastern parts of New South Wales that we saw with the last weather system. So that's Tuesday, and the cold air that comes in behind it, taking a bit of a break there. The next high pressure ridge is right in through here. So that's Tuesday. Into Wednesday, the remains of that spill over into here, high pressure down through here, so our next onshore airflow. The next weather system affects the west, so that one is on Wednesday, cold air with that one. Into Thursday, here it is by the end of the day. We've got warm winds out ahead of it as this dips down in behind, cold air in behind it as this troughs up in behind it. That is now going to move into the southeast on Friday into Saturday. So that's the two biggest systems that are moving across the south across the course of the next week. Now this here, because it is day after day, it's nothing heavy at the time, but because it's a full week of rain, it is going to actually add up as you move through here. So potentially 75 to 100 millimetres locally just in between Cairns and Townsville there. So that's the northeast part. In the southeast, the two systems that come in Monday, Tuesday, and then again on Friday. Big falls for the ranges, nice along the southwest coast, nothing hugely significant from the two of them as they come in, and it doesn't really extend as far north as the last one did. There's no cut-off low moving across New South Wales, so there's no huge falls with this one. Over in the southwest, 25 to 50 millimetres, potentially locally right in that southwest corner, 50 to 75, with the two systems that come in, a 1-2 punch over the weekend on Saturday, Sunday, and then midweek next week is the next burst of that one. And of course, Western Tasmania, all of this is coming from the west, so they should do quite well. 100 to 150, just 1 to 5 on the other side of the ranges there. Okay, so as a whole, here is the Euros model, their take on what's happening next week. So from Monday the 15th onwards. Fair bit of dry out through here. They've got the systems coming into the southwest, and they've got them moving into the southeast as well, and they've got this disturbance that's up in through here. Otherwise, it is dry to 50-50, which is pretty much the pattern that we described for next week. The Bureau's take on that, they like it a lot more. So they don't like it as much in the south, but again, that's missing the earlier part of that. They love it when it comes to crossing through here. So that's a 75, that's an 80% chance of exceeding the average for this time of year. I wouldn't go quite that hard on that, but maybe they are onto something. It's something to keep an eye on. They have it extending all the way up in through here. The system on Friday does come up and it moves right in through here. It may have a tropical moisture feed, so that may affect southeastern parts of Queensland too. But this line, this very defined line where the ranges are, that is definite, because all of this is a western system. It does not move across into the east. If you're on the east coast there, apart from the falls up and through here, which they're kind of missing, we're not really seeing much that's happening for the east coast. Let's now have a look at week 2. So this begins Monday the 22nd of September. There is a little bit in the southeast, but not as strong, and definitely not in through these parts here. There is a lot in through here. Is this potentially something that is feeding in from the northwest and moving right into these parts here? And it's also in the northeast. Let's take a look at what the Bureau is saying there. They don't like it in through here, but they do like it in through these parts of South Australia. So that's something to watch as to where the next weather system may pop up as we move through week 2, which begins on the 22nd of September. Is it something for the east coast? Is it something for the eastern inland? Does it come down from the northwest? Or is it something that may come out from the northeast as well? That is kind of what we're seeing in this particular system here. Potentially high pressure out through here, pouring in, meeting up with low pressure and coming through. Sea surface temperature anomaly, both of our boxes are looking quite blue. This one may have peaked. I'll show you the graph in a second. This one, surf is up as we see out through there. There's only a little bit of yellow that is in through there, only a little bit of yellow here. Meanwhile, lots of red all through these parts here. We are fairly surrounded by warm water, and there's a definite offset between those two and between these two as well. All right, Pacific Ocean. Here we are, the latest one that came in on Monday. It's bobbing around there, just south of the 0 sort of line in through there. It's not quite near the threshold, but it is on the southern side of that, the negative side of that. These 3 models still like it. These guys are sitting more in through here. So some models like La Nina, other ones aren't as keen, but there's nothing that's up here anywhere near El Nino. Over in the Indian Ocean, have we bottomed out in through there? So the last couple of weeks, it's sort of stabilized. It's incredibly negative, and that's where we get our juicy northwest cloud bands from. So this here encourages moisture to come down from the Indian Ocean, and wherever that meets up with low pressure, it can do some fabulous things on its way through in terms of rainfall. Having a look at SAM, that's looking fairly just moderate for the moment. And we know that the Bureau's forecast is always generally just neutral, so there's nothing strong in our southern annular mode. For our MJO, that has been bobbing around in through here, a little bit of a drive-by at the moment, but nothing serious, and it's heading over here, which encourages dry weather. But this is just one of our tropical influences as it passes Australia whenever it comes into the green zone here. Still a whip around the country. So for Brisbane here on Friday, there may be a late shower as it comes through. We're about 23, 24. Saturday, that's when the wet weather is. Not likely to be at night. I know there's a bit of a footy game that's going on through there. None of this adds up to very much. 0 to 6, 2 millimetres as the average. So there's nothing serious in these showers coming through on Saturday. Heading to Sunday, temperatures rise again, hardly any wet weather. Monday, sunshine, 26, lovely. Same for Tuesday, lots of sunshine. Wednesday, very, very warm. Let's have a look as we go through here. When is the cool change? There it is, right in through there. So a northerly winds, and then it shifts in the early hours of Thursday morning, but it doesn't bring much wet weather as it comes through. There's just a little bit there. Temperatures aren't even really cold in behind it. And then as we move through next week, so there's 30, 27, 27, and then still 27 as we move into the weekend, where we might get some wet weather. Heading into Sydney, let's head up through here. Friday, about 19. Saturday, it's looking lovely. There is nothing in the outlook here that is of concern to Sydney, so very, very different to the week before last. Our temperatures rise. They hit 25 here. Let's go to Tuesday. We'll see our change come through later on, so that is in the about 10, 11 p.m. on Tuesday night, but it does look dry as it comes through. It's just a wind change. Then we'll warm back up again into Friday. That's the next majorly warm day. Have a look at our northerly winds, and then it changes later on the day when the wet weather comes in. So then we're cooler again by next Saturday. Heading into Melbourne, we've got showers passing through during the afternoon. They ease in the evening. Heading into Saturday, cloudy skies overhead. There might be a little bit of drizzle, but that is all. The cloud breaks up as the day goes on. Sunday, absolutely lovely northwesterly winds, sunshine rising up at above 20. Might even reach 24 on Monday now. There is nothing during the day. The Bureau will have a wet weather icon there. Do note it is not until the very, very last part of the evening. That's why I hate one icon for the entire 24-hour period. The day itself, the bit we're going to notice, that's the nice bit. It's 24 and mostly sunny. Tuesday, that wet weather hits in the early hours. Take a break in the morning, then another burst comes back during the afternoon on Tuesday. Temperatures, there's nothing freezing in behind this one. Dries up, ready to go for Wednesday. Temperatures rise as we go through Thursday. And then Friday, the next weather system arrives. Now, have a look at the different models here. This is the USA model. You can always see it in through there. That one doesn't like the change until later. So it doesn't have the wet weather until later. So that's got some warm temperatures lingering into Friday. Whereas GEM, Canada, that has got it earlier on. Euro's got it earlier on. And Access, that's Australia, has got it around the middle of the day. So when those four come into line, we'll have a better idea about what this top temperature is going to be. But know that it is warm ahead of cool as that next weather system comes in. And when the air starts to turn cool, that's when the wet weather will start as well. Having a look at Adelaide, it's just this little bit of shower activity that's left over. That dries up. There is nothing there tonight. Clearing skies, light winds. It's going to be a chilly one. And then we're down to about potentially 5 by Saturday morning. Saturday, lovely, lots of sunshine on Sunday. Northerly winds, temperatures jump up. On Monday, it's afternoon and evening, and temperatures take a bit of a tumble into Tuesday, then just 15 as that continues until the afternoon. Heading into Wednesday, about 16. Thursday, temperatures really jump up in those northerly winds. The change is likely to be at this stage on Thursday night before the wet weather comes in, ready for Friday. Over in Perth, it's great today, lots of sunshine. Saturday's when the weather arrives. So I've got this burst early and then another one in the late afternoon into the evening. On Sunday, there's the next burst coming through, mainly around the middle of the day. And by Monday, it's kind of just the dregs of that system coming in, showers just streaming through. By Tuesday, not much at all. Wednesday, that's our next burst that comes in. But you notice we've got our warmth that's here. It doesn't really warm up in between because that high is ridging across. Only when that goes out to the east and actually closes off do we get those northeasterly winds and it warms back up. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the next warm up is likely to be next Saturday. All right, that's it from me. I will see you next week.